we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. We have some questions for you, Damian. And I'm going to get right into the beginning. So let's start there. Tell us the origin story of Volt. What led you to this insane idea, not just to start a political party, but just casually one across all of Europe?
Yeah, maybe some of you, I first went into a private sector career. I worked for McKinsey for some time, and I did social and public sector stuff at some point because I wasn't really so excited about the bottom line anymore. And then I did a Master of Public Administration in New York, and the idea was very simple: be there for 2 years, party a lot, make a lot of debt, and then go back and pay it off. And the problem was that I got there in 2016. 2016, you might remember, was the year when the Brexit referendum happened, but also the year of happening in the US. Do you remember? Exactly. So we have some people here who know. There was the election campaign of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump going on, and I was in Hillary Clinton's campaign center during the election night, which was supposed to be great fun. I mean, there was Katy Perry on stage. There was the first Bishop of New York. The Bishop of New York blessing the first female president. And so it was a really good mood. And then people started sitting down and started crying because the results were pretty clearly not going in the right direction. And I was there with an Italian friend. You said a couple of friends, an Italian friend and a French friend. And we walked out of there a bit saddened and frustrated that someone completely insane can become the most powerful man on earth. And then looked back at Europe, and then at that time you had also already Marine Le Pen in France running against Macron. You had in Italy Cinque Stelle, Lega Nord. Do we have any Italians here? Very good. So you know. And Beppe Grillo with his fuck you movement and so on. And in Germany, of course, the AfD. And so for us, that was a bit shocking out of maybe two reasons. One, going back to nationalism in a time when the geopolitical situation actually probably needs a more united Europe. It didn't seem so smart. And then, of course, you have all the hate and racism coming with it. So both of these things didn't really feel so comfortable for us. And then we thought, okay, how about we just build the exact opposite, pan-European, pragmatic, fact-based party? And it was a bit of a dumb idea of, the 3 people in a university, but somehow more and more people joined, and then we couldn't get out of it anymore. And then we ended up...
Too late.
We thought about telling them at some point, it was all a joke. Yeah, anyways, I'm still stuck with it 9 years in, and I really enjoyed.
Okay, so the main inspiring story is just get so deep into something that you can't pull out of it anymore.
I do think for me, inspiring story is that, like you said it, you have all these great people on stage telling you all this great stuff. But for me, what I'm trying to tell you with this is it's just small steps sometimes that can make a big difference. Like just a small decision to say hey, how about we just try this and make something bigger out of it? Of course, you should rigorously think through what your theory of change is and stuff. But for me, it's still insane that it's just this little decision that led to us sitting in 2 national parliaments, sitting in the European Parliament. And I'm honestly, the crazier the world gets, the happier I am in a place where I feel I'm at least trying to change it for the better. And therefore, I'm incredibly thankful. And I've also seen that every additional member joined because someone took the decision to, go out, talk about it. You organized this event here, yeah? Maybe some people joined, but it's just an individual decision that can make movements work. And I think for me, that's the biggest learning. We have a lot of agency. We just have to make that little step of activating it.
And if you look back now to the very beginning, what would maybe be something that you wish someone would have told you back then about starting this movement?
I don't know if I would have listened to any. No, I honestly, there's so much stuff that happened in these 9 years, from these first moments sitting together on good consultants with an Excel list, trying to find out what all the political questions would be that we could ask ourselves. And then trying to find answers that made sense to, I don't know, the first election in 2019, which was a complete adrenaline shock. And I still remember that my mother came to me afterwards and said, but what are you going to do in 5 years? It was her first reaction, which I still find cute. Anyways, no, I don't know. I honestly don't know what I would have told myself. One thing I did realize is, especially if you feel that you're doing something good, it's very easy to burn out. And I saw a lot of people burn out around me. And I'm a generally lazy person, so I had my times off. And that's why I also need to be in a high stress environment. Otherwise, I just don't work. But I think some people who don't have that laziness factor in them just know your boundaries, know yourself, because as soon as you hit your, let's say, your limits, you will not only harm yourself, but you will also harm the whole project. So there's a self-love part in it that is super important, and you should never harm yourself. And especially also if you care about the cause, because you will hurt the cause by harming yourself.
I think that's generally always true, but what even I've noticed just in the beginning, from like my beginnings at Vault, is, I mean, you have so many teams that are fully made out of volunteers, right? So a lot of these people are working full-time jobs and then also doing this, where I feel like the risk of someone burning out, that then the things will just stop, is even greater, right? When you're working with a lot of these type of people.
That's true. And I think that's why you need to understand that you are replaceable, and you should replace yourself as fast as possible. Like the faster you build a team that is empowered and enabled, the less it matters whether you take a break. So I think I learned also, if you want to counter a far-right wave that's coming, you will not be able to stand alone in that wave. You know, that's not how it's going to work. And that's why I think some humility about your own role, and maybe your role is just to empower more people to help, you know, make this counter wave. I think that helps.
Well said. By the way, if you need some stress to thrive in high pressure environment, there's a timer countdown right there.
You want me to talk fast? I can talk very fast. We also thought about doing a little ASMR, you know, like...
Anyway. Last session of the day. Okay, and you said, I mean, it's been a couple of years now. Since you started Vault, what would you say, what are the things that you're actually the most proud of? Like, what change have you created?
I think, again, it sounds super cheesy, but like, to have activated individuals to feel that they are empowered to make a change. I think that's for me the most important part. I mean, I can tell you about my negotiations in the parliament. I negotiated the Corona Recovery Fund, 672.5 billion euros, or the Data Act, which is fantastic because it will enable the data economy. And so, but like, I think it's all not as important as trying to show that we can not just be spectators of the world around us, but potentially also try to change it for the better. In the end, I do think we need large movements, but a small group of people can make a significant change. I mean, I think when I got elected first into the European Parliament, we were 200 active volunteers in Germany. That's insane. Like, that shouldn't be possible, you know? So I think if you are well organized, if you have a clear goal, and you organize yourselves well, I think you can make a lot of change. That's, I think, what I'm proudest of.
Yeah, that sounds like something to be proud of. And since I'd be curious, I mean, this is where the SAP Skills Hub, by the way, this is the stage. What would you say are the main skills or that are needed in this type of work, in politics? What do you think it is that also got you in the movement this so far from a personal perspective?
I do think that for the leadership roles, a certain level of charisma is helpful. I think organizational capability is crucial, like to not get lost, to know how to prioritize. And that's actually what a lot of you learn anyways in your leadership trainings. And the third part is more important. The most important part is you have to get your ego under control. I rarely meet people who are charismatic, who are good at organizing, who have the ego under control. So like, you know, this is for me the trifecta that I think is really needed. But there are many, many roles in parties and movements where you don't need to have that charismatic part or don't need to have that organizing part. I think you always should have that ego part. But
you elaborate on that?
I think if you believe that your own goals are more important than the cause, you will not always, but potentially harm them. And that doesn't mean that people are not allowed to be self-interested. I mean, if you want to become a member of parliament, maybe you also want that because it's a cool career step. Yeah, like, and I think ambition is nice. I really value ambition a lot. But if you can't see that you're harming other people or that you're harming the campaign because you might not be the best person, there's actually someone else who doesn't speak up as loudly, which is mostly, sadly, women who don't, you know, want to fight these ego men that are like, you know, standing there in the front. I think then it would have been better if you had your ego under control. So I don't know. I think this idea of not being replaceable, of being the sole savior of anything,
It links back to what you're saying about one of the great things within this is you have the power to empower others, and giving, like, when you are also in such also privileged stage in the spotlight, then you have the ability to give those who don't usually get that access to then also take up that spotlight and give them that platform.
Yes, and again, I mean, in Germany we have, I think, 85 million euros people, and Europe 450 million or whatever in the EU. So if you want to make a change on that scale, you alone will never have any, you will have impact and you will have none. And this is weird thing. Okay, I'll give you a bit of an example. Excuse me that it comes from a war context, but have you read War and Peace? I see some nodding, some shaking. So you see, you even raise your hand. Very good. So it's very boring. I still love the book, but at the end, I think it's Tolstoy, no? Like Tolstoy describes I don't know why, but he completely goes into description of the campaign of Napoleon towards Moscow. And he meticulously describes how none of the orders that Napoleon gives actually arrives at the unit where they were supposed to arrive. So he falsifies the theory that Napoleon was a great leader of an army or a strategist, just were completely irrelevant. But what they had was individual empowerment because they felt, we're going there, we're getting there. Then they get to Moscow. There's no food, there's a lot of prostitution, and they somehow they collapse. And then the Russians come and they kick them out with, I think, 1/10 of the force of the actual French army, and they have the energy on their side. And so every individual action of an officer mattered, but it also didn't matter. So, and I think I'm sorry for this example, but I'm so stuck at this thought process that it matters the world that you get active. And maybe you will actually talk to someone else to make them active that will become the president of France against this Badella weirdo that is probably going to win in a year. Hopefully not. I really hope not. I sit with him in the European Parliament. He's very annoying. He is sometimes there when he has speaking time. Yes. So I really hope he doesn't win. But I think what I'm trying to say is your individual choice matters the world. But you should also understand on the other side that it doesn't matter at all and that you're replaceable. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird dichotomy. I love that word. Sounds so intelligent.
Thanks, Damian. You already talked a little bit about the ego thing, which I think matters a lot when we generally talk about politics. Often people see politics in quite a negative light. And, what people often say about politicians, like how do you approach that? How do you stay credible? How do you stay authentic and values-driven? How do you feel that reflected back to you?
So I say shit a lot, which apparently helps.
People who swear, I heard, are
it's like,
you're likely to be.
No, it's a joke. I think, how do I stay credible? I don't know. I just try to not change too much, which annoys my team a lot because they think I should take more speaker trainings and stuff like this. But I really just try to stay the same person that I was before. And I also hang out with my friends a lot who don't really give a shit. You see, I saw shit. Who really don't care too much about what I am or like what my role is, but they just know me as a friend. And I think that also helps to just have your circles of people who really couldn't care less if you just completely failed or if you're successful and just who want to be with you.
Who can ground you or even humble you. And I'd be curious, especially when starting out, because you said, it was so fast that also you got elected into European Parliament. Have you ever felt like imposter syndrome or like you were out of your depth among all the seasoned politicians?
No, and the reason is not because I think I'm genius, but because there were, when I entered, 88 members of the AfD in the German Parliament. And this is, I think, for me, a highly motivating fact. I can be the biggest idiot. I can't be worse than them. So in the end, that's also, I think that's when, and that was before the European elections, that's when I really lost all, let's say, hindrance, all, how do you say that, like inertia to do that. Like I have no more imposter syndrome because I see Badella and these people sitting there, and every seat that we win, even with a just normal person, is a seat that is won for the good. So I personally don't have any imposter syndrome in that sense.
I get that. I feel like when Trump got elected, the bar to become president, got this low. Everyone, literally every single one person, at any table would probably make a better president. So at that point, you're like, okay, I might as well just go for it.
And maybe in here I can put in, for me, the most important point of tonight. You can forget all the blah, blah. But I think one thing is true, and you see here that there are many ways to engage. And I fully subscribe to that. Civil society, movements, campaigns for the climate. I think this is all super important. But if the core of the power, the parliaments are lost, all of the other things will fall apart. And I deeply believe that a lot of the activism that we do is directed at politics. Like a lot of the, hopes that we have is directed at politics. And if the core falls apart, I think none of the other things will matter. And this sounds a bit mean. I had yesterday like a speech where people were then attacking me, saying, how can you devalue all the other things? I'm not devaluing them, but I do value that we have lost politics too long. And we have, none of my friends wanted to go into politics. Nobody thought that a political career made sense. I mean, even like just joining a party was a bit like, why should I join a political? I don't fully agree with them. And then my friends will attack me because I'm with the Greens or with the Liberals or whatever. The one thing that I really want you to take away from this is take your phone out, join a political party. Whether you get fully active or not is a second question. But join a political party and bring your 10 friends along, and you will very often be the active part of the local association.
So that was going to be my next question. If you had something you would like to say to this group, something that
join
you do.
a political party. Take out your phone.
Any party in particular you haven't?
No, I actually really don't care. I'm super happy if you join Volt, but I do believe that this is a bit broader than a single movement. Yeah, like join the Liberals, Social Democrats, Conservatives. In the end, you all have value judgments about what's important to you. Even if we share fully the fact base, our value judgments might differ. So, for example, if you want surveillance cameras on the street, you value security over privacy, and I might disagree with you, but it's just what you do, like what you value. So I'm completely fine. And we also need to take out this judgment that we have against other political views. You can be a very good and nice person and be a very conservative person. And you can be very left and be a very nice person, and everything in between, of course, as well. And we should start acknowledging that, because otherwise people will always feel attacked when they're in politics. What you cannot do is to go to people that undermine democracy. And this is the danger that we currently face. It's not the problem that the AfD is further right than the CDU. It's that they're neo-Nazi fascists as a subgroup of that in that party that really don't give a shit about democracy.
And with that, maybe one more question. So I think an issue that many of us here face, whether we're already engaged in some kind of societal impact, democracy, or just working in sustainability or in a corporate, I think often we are very much labeled as this very idealistic, naive, young youth fighting for something. And I mean, usually we push through it, but often also there comes so much pushback. Have you ever felt these kind of like moments where then you started to doubt yourself and the movement? And if yes, how did you get through that?
So idealism is great because it makes you question some of the defaults, some of the fundamentals of the current society. And I think it's very important to understand that everything we live in is a construct of previous generations. So the EU in its current form is because some people after the Second World War thought about, hey, we don't want to shoot at each other anymore, specifically the Germans. And we want to like maybe build something. So it's a creation, everything. And if you just go 35 years back in Germany, you're at the wall, 2 times 30 years back, and you're in the Second World War. I mean, this is recent, very recent history. And you, with idealism, I think have the chance to think about these defaults and think what you can change. But the second ingredient that you need to understand, I think, is power. And I'm a super happy, clappy person, but in the end, if you fail, it's because you didn't in democracy get enough support for it. So be better. In the end, I think to be aware of power systems and to try to win them over in your ways is what makes idealism reality.
Then that leads me to my final question. What allows you to be so idealistic? What is something that, especially in these dark times, gives you hope?
Again, I said it in the beginning, but for me, being somewhere where I try to make things better makes me super happy. Like I sometimes imagine if I would read the news as they are today, and if I wouldn't be active in politics, I think that would make me much more depressed than to say like, anyways, I'm trying, oh, that looks like shit. I'm trying. So let's, come here tonight, talk to you, and maybe one of you or all of you will join my movement or another one. But like, I can try to make a difference. And I can always say, I told you so if it doesn't work out. But I think that really gives me a lot of energy. And I see so many cool people that want to make a change. And we just need to understand and believe that it's possible. And then I think we can make it possible.
Couldn't agree more. The best cure to feeling this anxiety in the world is to take action.
I think we're over time. And we have some Q&A.
0.8.
Yeah, if you would like to do,
Would be great if we can do some Q&A.
we can do.
So if you have any questions, I see one raised hand there and back there as well. So and back there.
Beautiful, right here. David?
Yes, thank you. So a lot of the time, politicians use the anti-sentiment against European legislation as fuel for right-wing or populism. How do you counter that as a party primarily focused on European organization?
Exactly. So wow, I hear my own voice. It's so weird. Do you have to listen to this all the time? Anyway, so basically, I think that's important to understand that Volt is not a party that defends the current status quo. We are in the middle of an intergovernmental and a parliamentary system in a hybrid format. All the most important decisions are still taken by the 27 heads of state, and like some decisions are being taken in parliament. And this makes us inefficient and also gives people the feeling that they can't diselect the government. I, as a parliamentarian, didn't have the chance to choose the government with a coalition contract. I had to take whatever body these 27 came up with. And that is a shitty process because in the end, it allows people to say, I hate Brussels and not I hate the current von der Leyen government. They should be able to say, I hate the current von der Leyen government. Let me vote for another one the next time. And then if they are not in the majority and they get her again, okay, fine. But at least they tried. And so I think we need this, traction mechanism between the will of the people into a real different historical direction at each of the elections. And that's what Volt wants. We want just very stupidly European elections, parliamentary democracy, like very simple proposal of how to fix things in the way that we do it on the local, regional, and national level already.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
Oh, sorry.
Any others? Back here. Hi. Oh my God, that is weird. You talked about protecting your or not having an ego. And I imagine that I'm going to assume that in Parliament you come across a lot of big egos. How do you how do you go about changing someone's mind that may never be changed? Or I know people say protect your energy, but also obviously this is part of your job. You're obviously experienced in this, but yeah, how do you decide how to go about that, or encountering people who are so out of touch with a problem that it's hard to really get through to them and show them what's wrong?
Yeah, maybe I wasn't clear. I think nobody can have no ego. I think you need to have a healthy ego. So that means building it on different pillars of your life and not just on one, stuff like this. And also understanding that any role, be it elected or nominated or hired for, is a temporary, label that you get, but there should be something else next to it or under it, not just that role. I think that's, for example, something. But in the European Parliament, one thing to understand is that politicians' currency is publicity. Again, they want to get re-elected, they want to look good. So if you give away ideas for free and you don't claim the ownership, you can have a lot of impact without anyone knowing. So then you have to, of course, check a bit that you also get known for stuff. But for me, I have, for example, sent a whole law that I changed to the person who was able to make the first proposal. So in their first proposal, they already took 10 of my articles. It was the what is called European election law. So they took up 10 of my articles without me ever having to fight for it, because in my own amendments later on, I then just tabled the rest that he didn't take up. And that, of course, means that I had a much bigger influence than if I had just tabled my stuff later. So I think that is important to understand. And then the Parliament, actually, European Parliament is quite healthy in the terms of how we negotiate. This is your group size, you get a couple of points, just tell me what your most important part is, and then you get stuff through. So I think you don't necessarily need to convince everyone. Sometimes it's just the bargaining of the power relations that you have.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have time for one final question.
Yeah, and good prep always helps.
Mm.
Hi, thanks. So I took them off now. I was wondering how you think, or what's your recipe towards political communication, especially when you think about the Brandmauer in Germany and some of the problems that are legit and the people are feeling. What's your way of addressing them and finding solutions towards them? instead of just following the AfD or the extremists and so on, and jumping on the populism track?
I think the first thing is to take things seriously. Yeah, like to not come forward with like too much righteousness. I think a problem specifically of the left has been the righteousness element. You say like you must be a horrible person because you want to drive your car or fly or so. So and the cause in itself is very good, but the righteousness put people off. So I think the first step should be to listen. And what I often do, especially like let's say with older uncles who almost vote the AfD but then don't, but like still there on the edge, is to really go through every step of the way of their thought process and think with them what that would mean, even if it hurts sometimes, like because there's some assumptions there that are, difficult to swallow. But I think that is really the way to go, and then to acknowledge certain things. Yeah, like for example, the problem of Merz's statement about the image of the city was not that he talked about the image of the city. You can, and I think you should be able to say a lot of people feel unsafe. In the Netherlands, we have a Dutch guy here. No, where is he? Yeah. There were huge protests by all progressive parties about the safety of the cities for young women just a couple of months ago. And Volt was there demonstrating with that. So to talk about the safety of the city in itself is not something bad. What he did is he mixed that with remigration narratives. So rather than to say, how dare you talk about the image of the city, we should have been much more clear in saying, like, how dare you connect the two elements like this? And let's talk about security and the image of the city. Let's talk about image of the city is still a shitty term, though. Let's talk about city security. Let's talk about integration challenges. Let's talk about labor migration, and let's talk about asylum. Let's talk about all of them and find actual solutions for these 4 topics, rather than just putting them all in one and then say less migration will solve all of it, which is clearly bullshit. Yeah. So I think the clarity in the categories is what I hope to be doing more. But it's difficult because in the end, the screaming people will always be heard more than like the more in the middle. But I think there's a demand for more considerate and more moderate politics.
Okay.
Apparently we're done.
Thank you for all your questions, but also a massive thank you to you, Damian, for being here at One Young World. Hope we can welcome you back again next year. And thank you.
Thanks for the nice introduction and the questions. And
Yeah.
thank you for joining so late.